the most likely thing to keep people from trying soap making is the lye. But if it's handled correctly, this does not have to be a scary thing. You can do this, and let's figure out how. So first of all, what is lye? Lye, or sodium hydroxide, is a very strong base. And if you remember back to your high school chemistry days where you learned about the pH scale and where on one end you have very strong acid and on the other hand you have a very strong base and neutrals in the middle, lye is a very strong base. So it's way over to one end of the pH scale. Because of this, lye is caustic. That's a big word that means it will burn any skin that it comes in contact with in that state. So it's part of the reaction called saponification, which is the reacting of oils or fats with lye to make soap. And it's actually it's a necessary part of the soap making process. You can't just leave it out. You can't just avoid it. If you're going to make soap, we're going to have to learn how to handle the lye. A true soap has lye involved in the process. So that it's just a mark of a true soap. If it's got lye in it, then you've got a true soap here and not something else that they're trying to pass off as soap. So that's what lye is. Now, lye has gotten a bad reputation in the last little while because of two things. One, the caustic bit, it will burn skin, and it just requires some respect for this thing. It's a chemical. We need to treat it with the respect it deserves. But the second thing is that we don't typically use lye in our normal everyday lives anymore. But in generations past, they did. So they knew how to handle it, and it didn't have fear associated with it. They just knew what they had to do to handle it well. And that's a piece that we have to learn before we can be comfortable dealing with lye in the soap making process. Historically, lye was, the story with soap making was, yeah, grandma's lye soap, that'll take the first layer of skin right off you. And that was probably true. I'm sure that there was someone's experience that brought that little line about. But what was happening there is grandma was very likely making her own lye and leaching it out of the wood ash from the fire she had the days before or whatever. I'm not even sure what that process is, but she was making her own lye from the wood ashes. And she did not have a way to measure the strength of the lye. So she would just kind of be guessing, probably an educated guess, but still guessing how much oil she needed to use to be the other piece of that chemical equation. And sometimes she would get it right, and sometimes maybe there was too much lye. So then some of it is unreacted. And then when you use that bar soap, it's going to be a little zingy, a little burny, a little something on your skin there. So that's how that came about. But in our case, the lye we purchase is commercially made. That we're not making this out of wood ash anymore. It's very controlled, it's regulated. We know exactly how strong it is. So then when we put it in a recipe, we can calculate exactly how much lye is needed and exactly how much oils or fats we need to complete that reaction and make sure that we have a lovely, gentle soap that's going to be great for your skin and not going to take the first layer of skin right off you. So that's a thing of the past, and that's not something that we need to worry about in our soap making process today. Because of this, it is important that we do some very exact measuring in our recipes. You're going to need a scale as we're making soap here, and the scale needs to measure to the 1/10 of an ounce. We're going to be very exact with the oils, with the lye, with whatever you're putting the lye in, because all those need to be just right so that when those atoms come together and reform into soap, we know that we have just the right amount of oil to use up the lye, and we have just the right amount of lye to react the oils, so that in the end, we don't have any of either one left. There's no oil left to be slimy. There's no lye left to be zingy. All we have is pure natural soap that's great for your skin. So the scale is very important so that we can be very precise in our measuring of the ingredients that go in our soap making recipe. So there's two things that you need to remember when you are working with lye in soap making. The first one is you must always wear your protective gear. In the end of our soap making process, the lye is all used up, and using the soap, your family, you, your friends, your customers, whoever's using the soap doesn't need to think about the lye at all because it's all used up. There isn't any lye anymore here. All there is soap here. So they don't need to be concerned about it. But on the making end, we need to be concerned about it because we're going to deal with the lye in its raw form. And we need to make sure that we are protected from it while we're doing the making. So you need to remember that lye will burn anything it touches. So you're going to need to wear a sturdy pair of gloves when you're working with the lye. These need to be like hardware quality gloves that are intended for working with varnish or stripping furniture or working with paint, or like they're intended to work with chemicals, not just dishwashing gloves. I don't prefer those. I prefer these that are intended to handle chemicals. So you're going to want a good pair of gloves, wear them all the time that you are dealing with the lye, either as a powder mixed in a liquid, or dealing with soap batter once you have that mixed, and when you're washing the dishes afterwards. You need to protect yourself from the lye through all of those stages. You also need to make sure that you have a good pair of goggles. I like these because they fit over my glasses, so I can have my eyes protected, but still see what I'm doing, which is handy in soap making. So if you don't wear glasses, you can get goggles that they look more like glasses. They have a little foam ring around the outside to fit right up against your face to keep to just ensure that nothing splashes up into your eyes. So make sure you've got gloves, goggles, and a dust mask. This is important just for one spot when we're doing our soap making. When you're pouring the lye out of the container, when it's in a powdered form, when you pour it, you can smell it just a little bit. There's a little bit of dust, and I don't want to inhale that. So I add a dust mask when I'm pouring the lye just to make sure that I don't inhale any of the powder that comes when you pour the lye. So this is step one. Remember all your protective gear. This you only need when you're pouring, but these two you need to wear at any time that you are doing something where lye could get on your skin, could get in your eyes, all of those steps. You need to make sure you've got these on. The second thing to remember is that when you add lye to distilled water, there will be lye fumes, and you need to be ready to handle those lye fumes. You can work under a stove vent and have that vent running to get rid of those fumes. You could mix your lye outside and just let those fumes be outside instead of being in your home. You could also work close to an open window and have a fan blowing, and that would be another way to dispel the lye fumes. You just want to make sure they're not in your home. You want to make sure you're not breathing them. Now, so when you're working with lye and distilled water, you need to make sure to be ready to handle those lye fumes before you add the lye to the water. Pro tip, if you are interested in learning how to make goat milk soap, when you're making goat milk soap, you can do it without any fumes at all. And we have a class that teaches that process step by step. And if you're interested in that and you would like to learn that process, the link to our class is in the comments below this video. You can grab that and we'll walk you through the entire process of making goat milk soap. And you're actually going to find it's the easiest way to get started making soap, way easier than dealing with lye and distilled water. So if you're interested in that, click the link. We'd love to see you in the next class, and we'll just take you through the process. Now, lye is not hard to find. This type of lye, easily found on Amazon. You can order it, they'll send it, no problem. If you're looking for a more local option, look at a hardware store near you. I have heard people say that you can get it from Walmart. I've not seen that myself, but I have heard that as well. But just make sure when you're doing that purchasing that it says 100% lye. Yeah, 98, 99% lye. It needs to be 100, like a very high percentage of lye, like, 98, 99, or 100. If it's just a cleaner that has lye in it, that's not the same thing. It should be a powder, not a liquid, just to make sure you're getting the right thing. Using lye in soap making is absolutely critical. You can't just leave it out. So that means that this is just something that we need to learn about. We need to, take some notes so that when you're using this, when you're giving this a try, you know the steps, you know how to protect yourself, you know how to handle it well. But if we do handle it well, we can handle it carefully and intentionally and make sure that we've got all the protective steps in place so that we can use the chemical to make this amazing product and not have that process be filled with fear or undue anxiety. We don't need to let the lye add any extra stress to the situation. We're just going to handle it with the respect it deserves, and it's going to help us create beautiful soaps like this. In our next video, we are going to go over all the supplies that you're going to need to make your first batch of goat milk soap. And it doesn't need to break the bank. I know that one of the concerns people have as they start down the path of soap making is, how much is this going to cost? It doesn't have to be overly expensive. We're going to show you ways to get what you need easily and economically. So we'll see you in the next video.